Hi friends! Diving into the newest edition of Melt Cosmetics shadow palettes, we have Brunette. But first, if it's your first time here, hi! I'm Alicia, thank you so much for clicking on my video. And if you are returning, well, thank you for visiting me again. Kinky Sweat stands for my kinky hair and sweat life. I am a fitness professional who loves things, all movement and beauty. If you want to check out what I do in between the makeups, you can head over to my Instagram. This just arrived today in the mail, followed by the two orders, or the two palettes on one order. I ordered Season Parties and Blueprint, which have been previously reviewed by several people, but I've always wanted Season Parties. It was out of stock for a long time, and my girl Dana texted me to say, hey, I picked this up. Just want to let you know. I'm like, I'm following your lead, friend. I actually didn't know much about Brunette, and Pam had texted me about it to say, hey, there's a new Melt Cosmetics palette coming up. I felt like I just reviewed, what's the name of this one? Mary Jane. And I think we all agree on the fact that there is major inconsistency when it comes to Melt Cosmetics eyeshadow palettes. I think pretty much the majority of their eyeshadow stacks were well received and consistent in terms of formula, but when they dived into the shadow palette formula of things, it's either the mattes are super pigmented and tough to blend, or the metallics are very flaky and hard to apply, even with the finger, like super packed into the pan that you really gotta like emulsify it to get a nice coverage layer on the lid. I saw some swatches on Tina the Fancy Face, hey Tina, Instagram, and she said the metallics looked and felt smooth, so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna give it another shot. I am. Shout out to the box. I think this is a gorgeous box. I love how they have the name on the top, but the actual palette name is across horizontal style. I'm sorry, I did not have a chance to paint my nails. It's killing me too. Mary Jane, I believe, was a, let's see, this one has 8. Mary Jane is a 10 pan palette. This is a 8 pan palette. And briefly going into some product details just so we could get an idea of what we're dealing with. Brunette retails for $48 and right now is sold on meltcosmetics.com. Maybe at some point will be sold on Sephora. The new Brunette palette allows you to be powerful and delicate simultaneously, featuring a unique blend of soft and spiced neutral hues. This 8-shade palette was crafted to do it all, just like you. Additional details: a suggested shelf month of 12 months, total net weight of 16.56 grams, and this is made in the USA. And knowing Mel, I'm sure this is cruelty-free and vegan, as many of you like to know. It's 100% vegan, and I also think it is cruelty-free. And here it is. This is a nice layout. I mean, talk about one of the most neutral offerings I think Melt has ever offered us. Inside of the lid it says, please bend responsibly. Okay, we have Brunette on the top of the mirror, Melt Cosmetics on the bottom. I think a decently sized mirror for the size of the palette, magnetic closure, and again the copper mirrored chrome finish to the design. First up, suede. Velvety smooth vanilla matte. It's smooth alright, but you see there's some powderiness there. I think appropriate to maybe pack on or lightly sweep. Buff is their go-to noodle peach, they describe it, blurring matte. Cork, golden sandy matte. That's pretty. I like that as a standalone crease moment if I'm not looking to go overboard with the eyes that day. We shall see. Ooh, first metallic, we have musk. Warm champagne with peach and gold. That's a nice metallic. Very smooth, shiny, silky, consistent in terms of the swatch. I know we didn't go through all the metallics yet, fam, but I'm feeling much better about this one than Mary Jane. Tan, toasted cinnamon matte. That was quite the crooked swatch. That feels smooth. The color is really nice. Not too cool, but not too warm either. I think a true neutral brown. Oh boy, we have bourbon. Golden copper metallic. This, you gotta work it. Is a little drier, I feel, than musk. There we go. You gotta pick up enough with your finger, and therefore I believe you have to do the same with your brush. It's not as smooth as musk. This is a lot smoother. This, beautiful, but you see there the inconsistency in the swatch. That one side is like has the sparkles and the other side just has the base. Last metallic, Stout. A brassy metallic. Same thing. I feel because these are so tightly packed, you got to get in there. All right, one more. That's much better. This definitely sits between bourbon and musk in terms of the consistency. Musk by far is the best metallic out of the bunch. Bourbon, least. Stout. Is that what my short term? Yes, Stout. Definitely better than bourbon, but not as good as musk. And lastly, Brunet. A dark, rustic oat matte. Here it is. Very basic. I think that was the intention behind this release for Melt. Melt shadow curations are usually full-bodied, very bold in concept. They go to the edge with their color stories, which I appreciate, and they force you to combine colors that you wouldn't otherwise do on under normal circumstances. So this is pretty safe for them. I'm gonna pack in as many looks as I can on these two eyeballs. So with that said, why don't you come in a little closer? That's enough. Eyes are prepped. I'll have everything down below for the products I applied. I thought let's just start real easy. We'll go in with Suede, the first matte out of the bunch. This bone colored matte that I think appropriate to apply on the brow bone. Let's see here. So I'm gonna whip that lightly. Oh boy. We're starting real strong. So if you prefer to rely on a light matte shade as your brow highlight, you can definitely use Suede. I will tap in lightly because, I would tap in lightly because the texture is quite powdery. So to not pick up too much product, in that case, you would just tap it off before you go in on your eyes. But the tone of it is pretty nice. It's warm neutral in color, but you can see if you apply a little too much, it could appear maybe a little too ash. But I think we're doing okay so far. Let's do Buff as a standalone crease shade. And you know what? I've been using my Rephr 27 to death. But you know what? It's the one that's closest to me, okay? I would have to go, just get up. Someone needs to wash your brushes. Going with my Sonia G, crease 2. With the Buff matte shade. Let's see how it shows up on its own. Light. I think this is the designated blend out shade, so shouldn't really expect anything from it as a crease shade. However, we'll go into Cork, see how that looks. This was the one that I was expecting to give a little shadow to the crease, which it is doing. So I'm happy to report that. Definitely detect more of the golden undertone in this matte shade. Very soft, feel fairly easy to blend. Granted, the nature of the color, however, I wouldn't or hope to not expect anything less. How did I set up that sentence? You are crazy. All right, I know I already put Buff on this side, but I'm gonna just do a little bit of this first. Go in with Tan. Now we're getting a little more punch now from Tan. So let's see how this does on the crease. You see immediately we're getting more depth here. I'm going in slowly and not moving in full throttle with a fully loaded brush. Yeah, because it could get smoky very fast. So I'm lightly tapping my brush, which is why I'm going in to the pan a few times. All right, that is Tan. Tan has a nice look to it. I find that you could wear this on its own, mascara, call it a day, or maybe some liner. Let's see Brunette, the darkest matte out of the bunch. Okay, that has really nice punch. Now this is the deepest matte in here. I don't know how far this will go in terms of intensity if you are on the deeper side of the spectrum. Yeah, because this might show up, but I don't know if it's going to provide that smoky look. With this release, Melt also came out with brushes and a brush holder, which I decided to skip on because I just bought the KJH X Spectrum synthetic brush collection, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna skip on the melt brushes for now. So I pulled it down and around my lower lash line, going back in with cork to further blend out the edges of brunette so they could appear a little more even. Okay, here's tan all by itself, and here is cork with brunette. You can detect a little bit more smokiness here from brunette. This is brunette, this is tan. So they definitely are different colors and different intensities, but kind of tough to tell when they're on the eyes in terms of which one is which. Taking my Kyureido Takumi brush in with bourbon, I want to see how well this does with the brush. I might have to wet it. Not too bad. I feel like I'll be here forever though. So I want to use my finger, pick up a lot more. And this definitely applies on the lid better than it swatches. Definitely looks smoother, more even on the lid when applying with the finger. The shine is incredible. And this tone is beautiful. It's like a true copper bronze. That's pretty. I'm using my Kyureido brush to just kind of carve the inside here so it could appear a little more smooth and not as crazy. That's nice shine. Gotta give it to bourbon. I was worried with that swatch. I was worried. Now with musk, using the same brush, but now on the inner part of the eye. This most definitely, I think the star of the show, definitely pick up more from musk with the brush than you do, or you will, I think, from the other metallics in here. So be careful that you don't overload the brush. But look at that beautiful shine. That's nice. Hitting the inner lower lash line here and taking a little bit of stout. This brassy something they call it, I forgot. Pulling it under the lash line here, overlapping brunette to give the lower lash line a little bit of shine. All right, that is eye number 1. I do want to see stout all over the lid. So with this side, I'm taking stout on my finger. And like I suspected from bourbon when I applied it on my lid, a much better application with the finger. In comparison also to the metallics in Mary Jane, these don't have as much chunk, but stout is doing something a little funny on my lid. It's grabbing onto my texture and I feel it doesn't look as smooth as bourbon. So here's bourbon, but here's stout. I have a hard time closing this lid. You see there's a little bit of like gathering there. Again, that's probably my lid. Or maybe it's a shadow, I guess we'll never know. Back in with my Kyureido brush. Want to clean up the edges here. Okay, I like the smokiness of it. This is a whole different feel. And we came over to this, combining stout with tan. Applying a little more tan now. This brush is the Rephr, I believe it's the 14. I'm gonna make this a little smoother. I do like the tan shade as like a one and done, not too smoky but not too light either type of a shadow. I'll also take tan under the lash line here just to complete everything, tie it together. Why not? Why don't we put bourbon here on the inner lower lash line, give it a little more shine and pop, and of course musk, or hold on, we have musk on this inner corner. Why don't we go in with suede? Suede could be an appropriate matte highlighter shade. I think it has the right amount of color girth to serve as an inner corner matte highlight for sure, just so you can see what that looks like. Yes, I still want to overlap it with musk because I think this color is so beautifully shiny and beyond easy to apply. So why not? If you wanted to change your mind, you can definitely go in with Suede first and then follow up with Musk. Make sure this looks a little more diffused here. I went a little out of hand with that suede shade on the brow bone. All right, here's a close-up shot of both looks. On the lashes, I have Chandelier in the style Ariel. We got the Bourbon Metallic here on this side, and we have the Stout Metallic here on this side. I combine eye and side. Eyed. And here's a wide shot of both looks. I feel this will be a palette that's going to slowly grow on me because I go in every time I review First Impresh or try a Melt Cosmetics shadow palette for the first time. My expectations align with my experience, right? I'm not expecting the super best, but not expecting the super worst either. For brunette though, I think if you do not have a Melt Cosmetic palette, it's definitely one of the more consistent performing ones, with the exception of maybe Stout, which, you know, looked a little weird on the inner part of my lid, but not so much that I'm totally dismissing it as like something you should skip, right? It's a beautiful color. And although Melt Cosmetics, I feel, played pretty safe, where they kind of fit their Melt Cosmetic feel of things is, I think, the tones of these metallics. Like, they're very multidimensional and not just your basic copper, but this, for it to be a copper, I think it's super vibrant. And Stout, even with my issues with some of the texture when applying it, I think is so beautifully antique looking and just immediately creates this smokiness with the metallic by itself that I feel fairly easy to achieve this type of an antique bronzy smoky eye with that shadow. The mattes I think are pretty good. I feel definitely a lot easier to blend than other melt mattes I've encountered in the past. The colors are nothing out of this world different and extraordinary in regards to the mattes. The metallics I think are, for this curation, for the theme of the palette, I think really beautiful. And again, this is where I think Melt kind of fit in, the way they love to present colors, how they love to interpret color. You can definitely see it in Musk, Bourbon, and Stout. I do enjoy the tones of Tan and Cork. Cork we started with here first to set up the crease, followed by Brunette, which I think gives a really nice smokiness without going too far. Like if you were to go in with one of the Melt mattes from Mary Jane, which has like a lot of depth, if you wanted that smokety smoke, you will have to go into that palette. And I would say not just that palette, but any other palette if you want a little more intensity from this curation, and if you're deeper than me. That's my only concern. Whereas I feel you have 3 light shades here that can cover several crease colors, crease tones, me and lighter, right? Me and a little deeper, you could probably get something from Tan, definitely get something from Brunette, but deeper than that, you will have to let me know. But I don't think you're gonna get the same amount of smoky. You'll definitely get the shine from the metallics in here. And I'm looking at my eyes right now. I might not sound so blown away, but I do really like this curation. I really do. I appreciate how easy it was to achieve these looks. I appreciate the color choices. I like how there are 3 metallics in here. Could have there been one more? I feel like I'm battling between replacing Cork or Buff. I felt Cork could have been fine to rely on as the blend out shade for the palette, because they like to do that. They like to include like the blend out blurring shade. I get that. Like how they did with Rust, the Rust stack, I believe. I forgot which stack it was. Did we need Buff? I don't know, we needed Buff. That's what I'm going back and forth about. Could have we replaced Buff with another metallic shade? And if so, what color would it have been? Would it have been more like a brown bronze versus the more antique metally shade versus the copper tone? I'll come back in here and create 2 more looks. I'm sorry that I only did 2 today, fam, because I've been trying to find the happy medium of giving you all the information, but also not doing super long videos that take me a while to edit. So I will definitely come back on here because I still have to do Supreme Bronze from Artist Couture. But I wanted to hop in because I was intrigued by this. I was like, how would Melt do neutral? Like, what is neutral to them and how would they interpret that color story? And I like what they did. I truly do. Would I rush out and get it? Not necessarily, but if you decide to buy it, I don't think you'll be disappointed. I think you would really like bourbon. If you swatch it on your arm and you're like, I don't know, man, bourbon applies a lot better on the lid. Stout, depending on the primer that you use, maybe you have to wet it. Not as bad as like that super textured matte that lives in Mary Jane. So I forgive it. Musk by far is the best metallic in here, and the tone of the mattes again, I think really nice to create like daily friendly smoke, enough that's not as intimidating but gives you really nice intensity to the eyes. I hope that first impression helped. I'm still trying to grasp how I feel about brunette, but overall I'm feeling really good. I actually enjoy this more. Although people were saying that Mary Jane looked really nice on me, and I agree, not about the me part, but I agree that the olive tones and the grunginess of Mary Jane makes an impact for sure. But this I'm feeling. I will get back to you on it. Let me know what you think down below. If you grabbed it already, if you tried it already, maybe you can help articulate what I'm trying to present right now. And of course, it'll be very interesting to compare this to Supreme Bronze. So we got a lot more shadow to get through. We have the Sydney Grace and Temptalia collab to get through. A lot of shadow palette videos are coming, fam, so hang tight. With that said, I'll see you down in the comments. And until then, fam, that is a wrap. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope this video helped. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and maybe consider subscribing to my channel. And until then, I will see you in here again with another review tutorial, eyeshadow palette extravaganza, monthly favorites, or lunchtime chit chat. Take care, and I will see you again soon.